Prabhupada. I welcome you all to His Holiness Candramauli Swami Maharaj's daily class. Today we'll be continuing with the Srimad Bhagavatam, going through Canto 3, Chapter 3, Verse 18. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Haribol, Jai, glories to Prabhupada, my obeisances to all the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Would you like me to share the screen, Maharaj?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let me see the verse. I'm not sure it's 18. Okay, yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Ayajayadamasutam Asvamedais Tribir Vibahu Sopi Shemam Anujai Raksham Rama Krishnam Anurataha. Translation. The Supreme Lord induced the son of Dharma to perform 3 horse sacrifices, and Maharaj Yudhisthira, constantly following Krishna, the personality of Godhead, protected and enjoyed the earth, assisted by his younger brothers. Maharaj Yudhisthira was the ideal monarchical representative of the earth because he was a constant follower of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. As stated in the Vedas, Ishopanishads, the Lord is the proprietor of the entire manifested cosmic creation, which presents a chance for the conditioned souls to revive their eternal relationship with the Lord and thus go back home, back to Godhead. But the whole system of the material world is arranged with that program and plan. Anyone who violates the plan is punished by the law of nature, which is acting by the direction of the Supreme Lord. Maharaj Yudhisthira was installed on the throne of the earth as a representative of the Lord. The king is always expected to be the representative of the Lord. Perfect monarchy necessitates representation of the supreme will of the Lord. And Maharaj Yudhisthira was the ideal monarch on this supreme principle. Both the king and the subjects were very happy in the discharge of their worldly duties, and thus protection of the citizens and enjoyment of natural life with full cooperation of material nature followed in the reign of Maharaj Yudhisthira and his worldly descendants like Maharaj Parikshit. Om Gyan Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine. Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Pastyatya Desatarine. Vanchakalpa Tarubhischa Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namahom Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. 1 minute. Perfect monarchy necessitates representation of the supreme will of the Lord. That statement is the foundation for ruling. Otherwise, what we have today is chaos because everyone operates according to their own selfish or political interests. And people suffer by the hands of the rulers of the world today. There are so many calamities in the world. Why? Because no one follows the will of the Lord, nor do they respect material nature. They exploit material nature and try to gain as much resources that they can in order to fulfill their desires for supremacy and dominance in the world, and challenge other countries in the same way. And there's always chaos. The world is somewhat, the world is the property of God, but people divide it up and make it their own property, and then they fight amongst themselves about who owns what and who should get what. But if they acknowledge that everything belongs to the Lord, and they are servants of the Lord, and their service in the role of administrators is to give the citizens a chance to live life in such a way that they can find success in their activities in maintaining their family and performing their occupations, and at the same time direct them towards the goal of life, which is, to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead in devotion. Prabhupada would often say it's the duty of the leaders to make sure everyone is following worship of the Lord. Be it one system of religion or another, that's secondary. What's important is everyone is inclined to follow the Lord. And therefore, one of the main responsibilities of a leader or a person in political position is to arrange things where people have the facilities they need to worship, and they get all of the necessities of life. And this will automatically happen when people worship the Lord, because the earth will automatically produce everything that people need and more. But now you see there's scarcity, and there'll continue to be scarcity. Why? Because the leaders don't know how to lead the people, and people are lost to their own ideas, and they follow the leaders in the same way. They're no better than the leaders. And therefore, there's always shortages, chaos, disagreements, and calamities on different levels, either natural disasters or calamities created by the rulers of the world. But here we have speaking about what is the ideal leadership. Maharaj, he was ideal because he was the follower. This is the main principle that's being illustrated here, because he was a constant follower of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, understanding that everything belongs to God. And then people divide up the world, think this is my country, this is my nation, this is my property, this is mine. They don't recognize that before they came here, all of this was here, and when they leave, it'll still remain here. It actually belongs to who created it, and therefore we understand, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, I am the source of both material and spiritual worlds. So he is the source. And therefore, because he's the creator, everything belongs to him. One who creates something is the proprietor of what they create. And therefore, the material world belongs to Krishna. It's his energy, and it works under his control. And he is the supreme director of that material energy. But people use their independence to defy the laws of the Lord, and act independently and try to control the material energy for their own selfish interests, not knowing the proprietor or even respecting the proprietor, and therefore there is calamities. People talk of peace, people talk of, of getting along, but they live the opposite way. It's not possible to speak one way and then live in the opposite way. If you want to work together and create a world that is unified, both in principle and in God consciousness, you have to follow the laws of the Lord. Otherwise, creating your own laws means disaster. I create some laws, you create some laws, and then we fight about which law is more important. And we're getting, Bhagavatam is explaining all this. When Prabhupada first came, when he was speaking like this, the world wasn't so calamitous. But now Prabhupada predicted that if things continue to go in the same way, there will be constant calamities, and we're seeing that today. And these calamities will only increase. And people will have to suffer only because of bad leaders who don't know how to lead the people and don't know the principle of leadership, which is here to follow the rule of the Supreme Lord. That's why Srila Prabhupada, on a microcosm, wanted to establish this Varnashram system where everyone has a role in society according to their particular propensity. You have the priest, the guidance, the one who wants to give guidance, and you have the Kshatriyas, the ones who administer. You have the Vaishyas, the ones who provide, and you have the Sudras, those who are supporting all of the three other categories of living entities. That is the ideal system. Chaturvanya manasristam guna karma vibhagasaha. Krishna says, I created this system. It's my arrangement. And it's the way, it's not spiritual, but it's a foundation for materialism to work in such a way that it supports spiritual development. But no one wants to follow, and everyone wants to do their own thing, and everyone blames everybody else for the problems. So you have a world of chaos. Here, we understand what is actual ideal. That the king is actually in the role of a father, and the citizens are like his children. An ideal king who lives by religious principles and the moral standard of livelihood can understand that it's his duty to take care of the citizens. They require some care, they require some facilities in order to live. But no, it's more like what we can get from the citizens rather than giving something to them. So it's everything is upside down. The whole world is upside down. When we listened to Srila Prabhupada, he predicted all of how people are acting selfishly without understanding the values of life and the goals of life, and creating more and more problems for themselves and for others. So here we pray that there will be ideal monarchs, people who actually are well-wishers of others and who live for serving God and serving others. The whole principle of life is service. And the whole principle of service is to do good to others, both serving each other and serving the Lord. When everyone is serving each other for the benefit of each other, then everyone is happy and everyone works together in a unified way, each performing their duty by providing what is needed, both on the material level and on the level of the spiritual practice. So you have that in kings like Yudhisthira, Maharaj Parikshit, Maharaj Prithu, also many great kings, King Ainidra. There were so many, King Uttanapada. Then if you go through the whole list of Vedic kings, you find all of them. Some of them were a little bit loose in their activities, but in general, they followed the Vedic culture for ruling. Yeah, like that. And many of them ruled for 50 years, some of them even longer. King, what's his name? So Sahaj, I can't remember, Sri something. He ruled for 50 years. Others sometimes even ruled longer than 50 years, 100 years. His life was longer in previous yugas. So anyway, we get an idea here. So Prabhupada is giving us Perfect monarchy necessitates representation of the supreme will of the Lord. And then we have the examples of these kings who ruled accordingly. There were difficulties then, but at least people were following the principles of Dharma. And therefore, generally, they were happy. Okay, so any questions, comments about?
Thank you, Maharaj, for such a nice class. Dear devotees, if you have any questions or any comments, please raise your hands. If you're not able to speak, then you can type it on the chat box and I'll read it out for you. Maharaj, while we're waiting, I had a question. So what is an Ashwamedha Yajna? What does it consist of?
Ashwamedha Yajna?
Yeah.
It's a horse sacrifice. It's mentioned in some parts of the Bhagavatam how it describes what is the ingredients for such activities. In order for a king to establish his sovereignty, he would take a horse, very powerful horse, along with his armies, and the horse would go to different places, followed by the armies. And if it goes into other kingdoms, if that king receives the horse and honors the soldiers, then that king is acknowledging the superiority of the other king as being the monarch of the world. And if he challenges the horse or captures the horse, then there's a fight and to see who actually becomes victorious. At the end, the horse, if it goes through all of the areas and comes back to its original place, then the horse is sacrificed. There's a horse sacrifice. The horse gives up his life, and in the next life, that horse attains to a human form of life. So, yeah, so in order for kings to establish their rule, Maharaj Prithu did 99 Asvamedha yajnas. And when he was about to do the 100th one, Indra stole the horse, and that became a calamity. Because Indra had done 100, and he didn't want anyone to match him or surpass him. But Prithu's son stopped Indra, captured Indra, brought the horse back. And then the sacrifice was done again, and Indra again, this time in the disguise of a sannyasi, he stole the horse. And then Indra's son again Prithu's son again captured Indra and stopped him from stealing the horse. So there was a little envy on the part of the demigods because they didn't want the Prithu Maharaj, it was not from the demigods, it was Indra himself only, to be superior by performing more Asvamedha yajnas, because it's very costly to perform an Asvamedha yajna. And one who is successful becomes, what we say, very powerful and receives the support of the citizens.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you. Maharaj, would you be able to tilt your camera a little bit down so we can see you properly? Thank you. Yeah, that's good. Thank you very much. Darya Mataji, would you like to go ahead?
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Maharaj. So you were mentioning that Varn Ashram Dharma is not spiritual. I was wondering if we follow the Varn Ashrama Dharma, if it leads to the spiritual Dharma.
Yeah, it's the foundation. In order for a social system It's the ideal social system, which is the foundation for practicing spiritual life. It includes the four ashrams too: brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. But varna and ashram. Varna means Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra. Ashram, brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. This is necessary for a society to flourish. Prabhupada noted that the world is upside down. No one's following Varnashram. In India, they were following for a while, but then they got deviated and started to develop what is called the caste system. And when they introduced a abrogated form of the original system, it looked like the actual system, but it didn't have the same ingredients. People who weren't qualified were taking the positions of people who were qualified. And it was all based on birth rather than uh, karma or activities. So Prabhupada, in our Krishna consciousness, that was one of the things that he wanted to establish within our society as a rule to organize our society for a social system along with our spiritual practice, which is the foundation for successfully executing Krishna consciousness. When everyone is working according to their nature and everyone is contributing according to their nature. And it's natural. Yeah, it's natural. The system is natural. Krishna said, I created it. We'll talk about that on Sunday when I begin a series of classes on Varnashram Dharma, which will start this Sunday at our regular time.
Thank you, Mataji. Sridevi Mataji, would you like to go ahead?
Thank you, Sujana. Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. As you were speaking about God conscious leadership, Guru Maharaj, I was thinking that Srila Prabhupada had such an urgent mission in a very short span of time to perform that he said, I'm first giving society a head. And therefore, he made so many brahmanas and gave us all this transcendental knowledge and so on. So, is it that now, from the time Srila Prabhupada left, that all the other classes we have to bring it about by training people like that?
Yep, he said establish the Varnashram College for training the different Varnas, yeah.
But isn't this a natural system, Guru Maharaj, where naturally,
Yeah,
but then again, Kali Yuga.
Not in Kali Yuga, Kalo Sudra Sambhava.
Right. Okay.
Kali Yuga, everyone's born Sudra, so these qualities have to come out through education and evaluation. People don't know their Swadharma. So therefore, this educational system is meant to bring it out, to train people and to evaluate based on the training and then engage accordingly. And that's what the college is meant to do.
I think more than anything now in our Krishna conscious society, we need Kshatriyas, Guru Maharaj. There's lots and lots of sannyasis and lots of brahmanas teaching, but to develop this lifestyle requires organization, and that requires Kshatriyas.
Yeah, we're working on that now. I'm involved with that directly in Mayapur. And I started something 2013 to organize the Kshatriyas, but things went a little bit astray and people got a little bit independent. And so we gave up the process. But yeah, it requires training. It also requires, knowledge. of Kshatriya Dharma. So you have in Mayapur, you have Murari Chaitanya there. He is a expert Kshatriya, and he also went through the Bhagavatam, finding all of the statements in the Bhagavatam that support the principles of Kshatriya Dharma, which are many. So he did one book, but he's now doing a second book, which will be more inclusive. He's going to do it in a few languages too. He's in Italian, so he writes in Italian, but then it'll be translated into English and in Bengali, Hindi, maybe Hindi, I think. Yeah. So it's already being done in some areas, but it's not. You'll see Varnashram is there in our society, but it's not organized. It's just not organized. Some people are working according to their nature, but it has to be a system where the four Varnas work together to support each other and not just independently performing activities according to one's nature. It requires organization, requires leadership, requires spiritual vision, material understanding of the different activities of the Varnas. My god sister Ormila, along with another lady, Rukmini, they wrote a book called Career Dharma. They try to bring that about by using the examples from the secular society. It's interesting. I haven't read the book. I started to read it. It's quite long. It's quite thick with information. So it's called Career Dharma. And it's geared both to the spiritual and to the material. But yeah, you're right. We need to develop these other second and third, especially the Kshatriyas and the Vaishyas.
Can we expect to see it in our lifetime, Guru Maharaj? It will take a few generations for that to happen.
It depends on how much we emphasize it.
I'm sorry?
Depends on how much we emphasize it. Yeah, one particular leader began a leadership meeting with all of the leaders and saying, where is the ministry for a Varnashram in the GBC? Now I think this year they actually established a Varnashram ministry. Kalakanta is involved with that. There's a lot of devotees doing things, but nothing is organized. Everything is being done in smaller groups like that. We have to organize the whole society according to these principles. And then devotees will be happy, they'll be able to contribute something, and Krishna consciousness will move fast, very fast.
Does the GBC consist of only Brahmana people, Guru Maharaj? I don't know. I'm asking. Is it that they're all Brahmanas and there's no?
They're in theory, the managerial heads are not necessarily Brahmins. They're Kshatriyas. But as I say, things are not evaluated, and you have a mixture. You have a mixture. I'd say the GBC is a mixture of Kshatriyas and Brahmins together. Mostly. Brahmins give the advice, set the standard, give the guidance, make the corrections. The Kshatriyas minister all of the activities. They give protection, they support people, they engage people. Radha Bhakti Madhuri, Hare Krishna, Jai Ho. Welcome.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to you. Maharaj, I had a question regarding the verse mentioned about the perfect monarchy. The verse mentioned about perfect monarchy in which the king is suitably qualified and supposed to be a representative of Sri Krishna. I just wanted to check, in modern times, the reason monarchy didn't work is because it's not always considered that the family bloodline or the heir who becomes the king is qualified enough to be ruling the entire country. That's where democracy took over and it felt that's more suitable. So I just wanted to check, if the Shastras encourage monarchy, then how is this addressed?
Yeah, the monarchy has to be ideal. In other words, the system has to be in place. When you have a monarchy who becomes a despot or a ruler without proper connections to Dharma, or even with not what we say qualified to lead, then monarchy turns into oppression. And that's what's happening. Therefore, they created democracy, which is not a solution to, monarchy is the actually, an enlightened leader is the way to go. A person who is enlightened and is qualified to lead. Therefore, no one should take that position unless they are qualified. But it's not about electing anyone to the position. People develop these qualities and become what we say self-effulgent, and then they can be recognized as leaders. Srila Prabhupada led our society. He was the perfect leader, and you see how much he did in a short period of time. He had both vision, and he had purity, and he had intelligence, and he knew how to engage people to bring things about. So now, Krishna consciousness really spread fast when Srila Prabhupada was here, really fast. So that's an example of an enlightened leader. Prabhupada was Brahminical in nature, but he had a Kshatriya acumen about him, because he used to be a manager, and he knew how to manage also, which many sadhus don't know how to manage. Usually there's a division between the two. But in Prabhupada, you found both in one place. Therefore, our society spread very fast. He knew how to deal with situations and adjust situations to make them favorable. Of course, there were problems too, because training people in the Western, growing up in the Western culture, people were not attuned to the Vedic system, nor understood it. And therefore, Prabhupada had to reorient everything towards education. At the same time, teach them what are the values and how to live according to these values, spiritual values, moral values. So when you have a leader who is qualified, then everything is wonderful on all levels. But nowadays, we don't have qualified leaders. So they resort to democracy, which is Prabhupada used to call it demon crazy. Because the people that they elect to take up the position, and it's about vote, but the people who are voting, the people who they vote come from the same people who are voting, and they're no better. Nowadays, if a person is very intelligent and knows how to use and knows how to manipulate things, they can move themselves into positions of power and control. And that's what we have. People who have that ability, that intelligence. So they take over. And sometimes when things don't work, there's a revolution, they kick out the leader and they put somebody else in there who's no better than the person they kicked out. So unless they're guided by religious principles, but then there was this thing, when the Constitution of the United States was put together, it was connected with God together. But then after some time, there was this division between this religion and political rule, that don't mix church and state together, separate it. And that's what they did. So you have a secular state, not guided by moral or religious principles, but guided by economic interests. So yeah, but you're right. But the idea is to have a leader who is qualified. And when Prabhupada began the movement, he created a political party called In God We Trust. And it was in the United States, and there was one devotee that ran for president. But of course, he didn't win. But Prabhupada wanted to get, devotees into positions of power within the world so they can, lead by spiritual principles. But then Prabhupada saw how upside down everything was and how corrupt everything was, so he pulled back from the whole thing.
Is that okay, Mataji?
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
Is that so that basically your point is correct, but the idea is to put someone who's qualified. Qualified means, as it says here, leading according to religious principles, leading according to the law of God, and not just some secular laws, which are always changing.
Thank you, Maharaj. Raj Prabhu, would you like to go ahead and ask a question?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to you and Srila Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, Mahatma Gandhi's model inspired by Vedic principle. He had this concept of Harijan, and then he had the concept of Swaraj, where he talked about self-sufficiency of villages. So, what were the fallacies of Gandhi's way of leading? He didn't succeed even after being inspired by Vedic principles and
I'm
principles.
talk about that in my opening class on Sunday, because Prabhupada patterned his principles of leading the society based on some of the ideas that Gandhi had. But there was need for adjustment. When you caused Harijan, Prabhupada said, you can't just automatically stamp a person Harijan. They have to be educated. Without education, you can't just take a charmer or a bungi and say you're qualified. There has to be spiritual education. Gandhi didn't do that. He did the village program, and that was somewhat successful. But after some time, he got more involved with politics. So we'll talk about the four principles that Gandhi and Prabhupada wrote a treatise called Gita Nagari in 1949, and he sent it to the president of India, Dr. Sardar,
Vallabhbhai Patel.
and he wanted an endorsement from the Indian president. And Prabhupada took it and you can read it. It's quite long. He explains the whole thing. I'll go through the 4 principles on Sunday to set the stage for Prabhupada's movement and how he wanted Varnash Dharma as the culmination of all of the activities that we perform.
Got it, Maharaj. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Devotees, are there any more questions? Maharaj, while we're waiting, I had a question. So in previous times, women would stay at home and they'd look after the kids and they'd look after their house.
I didn't catch that.
Sorry. So in previous times, women would stay at home and they'd look after the house and look after the kids, and the man would go to work. So how would the woman act according to their varna in those situations when they just stay at home?
Good, very good question, which is controversial, but anyway. It's controversial in today's world, that's why only. Usually it says that the woman would take on the varna of the husband. That's what Prabhupada would say. And work according in that way. But then again, you see about marriages, we call pratiloma marriages, anuloma marriages, where a girl is coming from she's a princess, her father's a king, and she marries a person who is a sage. Just like you have the example of Kardama and Devahuti. Devahuti was a princess. She was the daughter of a Kshatriya. And Kardama was a Brahmana. And so, but he knew how to, she made sacrifices. She grew up in a very princely environment. And she was living in royalty most of her life until she got married. And then he was just a humble sage, didn't have any material arrangements, but she followed her husband. Because she followed her husband, he rewarded her later by giving her, he created an aerial mansion which went flying through the sky, but he had such mystic power. And then he gave her 9 daughters, and she had 9 daughters, and then he gave her 1 son, which was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Kapila. You can read about that in the 3rd canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's coming up in the later part of the 3rd canto. So, yeah, but generally the women would follow their husbands in the dharma of their husband.
So Maharaj, how would the woman act as a Kshatriya if she married a Kshatriya husband? How would the woman act as a Kshatriya if she married a Kshatriya husband?
In today's world or in Vedic
In
times?
those times, in Vedic times.
She would simply be supporting her husband, that's all. She would be a good manager of the family. She took care of the kids, and the husband would provide what is needed for the family. She would support her husband and not be independent of the husband and try to, create her own lifestyle side by side, where the support of the husband was someone neglected. But nowadays, everything is so screwed up. Husbands, wives work, women work, kids are uncared for. We're left with parents and guardians and different things. And then, uh, the women get exploited when they work outside because they work around men. And men take advantage of women. If they don't take advantage of it grossly, they take advantage of it subtly. Women in the workplace means a woman is exploited. Yeah. Women's liberation, that was, Prabhupada said, was created by men to break the chastity of women so there will be more opportunities to enjoy women and use women in different ways, both in the political and social fields and also for sense gratification. And you see, that's what's happening today. And therefore, marriages are becoming very difficult. When the woman follows the husband nicely and the husband is qualified, yeah, to lead, I mean, he has to be qualified. He has to be dharmic. He has to be a devotee, and he has to be qualified in his occupation to support the woman whenever she needs, both on a material and spiritual level. And she gives him affection, attention, and supports him in what his personal needs also. So it's a mutual support for each other in their roles as husband and wife. Prabhupada dealt with that head on when he got challenged by the Women's Liberation Group in Chicago. That's a big subject, really long subject. But anyway, when a woman has a good husband, she's happy. She gets protection, she gets care, she gets affection, she gets material security. The husbands have to be qualified. They say if you want your wife to be Sita, you have to be Ram. How many Rams are out there anyway? So sometimes women, act independently because their husbands are not up to the standard. And they think they should take control of their own life. I just got something the other day from one lady saying, I don't want to even remember what she wrote. It was just like, throw out all men, women are independent, we're better, we're good, we can do it, we don't need you. This is basically, and I know her history. Her history is her husband is not qualified to take care of her. And so when you use a default program as the standard, then you create more problems anyway.
So Marge, so what can we do when in those situations where the husband is weaker, like in society? Like, does that mean that it's okay for the woman to be independent and, you know?
An independent woman, according to Shastra and according to Guru, is never happy. She requires protection from husband, from father, from others. It says, the Shastras say, 5 classes of people: Brahmins, cows, women, children, and old people always require care and protection. And if they get a good caregiver, they can do so much. They can also contribute. They can also do things for society.
Yes, Marge. Because we see in today's society that the husbands are sometimes not very qualified. So
Yeah, good luck. I'm, I don't say that in a facetious way. I'm saying it, I pray that the ladies will be very discriminating and accepting someone who they can serve and become, you know, uh, happy under, and not someone who is, you know. Therefore, education is required. People need to be educated. And that's our system, is to give education. We're also educating people in these different ashrams too. There are devotees who are writing books about this because we see it's one of the biggest problems is relationship problems. Well, when you know your duty, and you perform your duty accordingly, then you're situated nicely. So if you want to go into it a little farther, the man has to give the woman three things, and the woman has to give the man, let's see, the woman, yeah, how is it understood? The man has to supply security. In other words, financial security, stabilization. In other words, to take care of the needs of the family. Security. He has to also give protection because women have a tendency to act on emotions and make mistakes because they follow their emotions rather than intelligence. Women's emotions are stronger than men. But if emotions are not guided by intelligence, it can lead to catastrophe. When emotion is guided by right understanding and devotional principles, that emotion brings one to pure love of God. That's why the greatest of all devotees are considered the gopis of Vrindavan. They're just cowherd girls, but because their emotion is directed in the right way towards Krishna. And so, and the man has to also provide, clothing for the woman, jewelry for the women, food for the women, security, give them children, all of these things, the man's responsibility. The women are looking for three things. All women are looking for three things. They're looking for affection, protection, and what is it? Affection, protection, and
Security.
security, right? Three things.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you.
Mhm.
Raj Prabhu, would you like to go ahead and ask a question?
Hare Krishna.
I'll tell you a little story. It says the husband should every once in a while, occasionally, give gifts to his wife to, this is just natural to show his love for his wife. So he does it in the form of gifts. So one of my disciples, I said to him, hey, why don't you give your wife a sari every once in a while? So he didn't answer me. So not long after that, he had a dream. And in the dream, I came into the dream and I gave him a green sari in the dream. So when he woke up the next day, he said, Maharaj, why did you give me a sari? I said, it wasn't for you. I gave it to you so you could give it to your wife. So I couldn't get to him, so I had to do it in a dream in honor. And then he got his wife a nice sari, so that worked out. So giving your wife gifts shows your love for your wife, and that's important to keep that mood of affection there. Not that the wife simply becomes a slave of the husband and the husband just does his work. No, it has to be affection, protection, and security. And affection is shown by giving gifts, giving jewelry, nice food, taking your wife out on a yatra every once in a while, going to holy places, doing things together. Prabhupada said 4 things in marriage: chant together, worship the deity together, read Krishna book together, and take prasad together. But women want to work, so how much time can they find together, That's the problem. But the man should be able to support the women so they don't have to work. when women work and men work, both come home tired. How much can the wife give to the husband at that time when he needs someone? When he comes home from work, he needs somebody to be there with nice food, sweet words, and some, some relief from being in the secular world doing his work. But if she's not there, if she's in the same condition he's in, then who's going to support? Who's going to help? And I've seen marriages almost fall apart because of that. And some marriages have fallen apart because of that. So in the Vedic culture, there's a role for man, there's a role for women. There's a role for everyone. There's a role for sannyasis, there's a role for brahmacharis. Everyone should know their duty. What is my duty?
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you for such a detailed answer. Thank you. It's really
One of my
nicely.
favorite subjects.
Thank you. Raj Prabhu, would you like to go ahead?
Hare Krishna. Guru Maharaj, as you mentioned that Srila Prabhupada wanted to start a political party in US, but back then things were not good. Political system was upside down. Now in India there is a change since last 1 decade. So is there any hope in India for us to have Vaishnav leaders in future? And what is the way forward to it?
Well, I would say your Mr. Modi is quite spiritually inclined. And his what does he call it? His home minister, Amit Saha, he came to Mayapur, and he really had a wonderful experience. And he congratulated the devotees for building this community. So you got some spiritual leadership there in India. But still, there's the secular side also that needs to be taken care of. So
But these Guru Maharaj, but these are just the top leaders of the society. I mean, India still have many representatives in local authorities which need to be replaced.
yeah, it is. We're just getting going. It's a long way to go. You see, when you have a leader who is spiritual, then they can inspire the people to follow accordingly. When Birham Bir became converted by Srinivasacharya, he made his whole province of Vanavishnupur into Vaishnavas. When King Ashok took over, I forgot where he was ruling. Maybe Sridevi knows. When King Ashok, when he adopted Buddhism, and he made the whole country Buddhist. So when you get leaders who are like that, then people will be more inclined to follow because they can enact principles and laws which will inspire people towards spiritual life instead of secular principles that are always changing. Yeah. So yeah, we want that.
But we have a long way to go.
Yeah. We have our Tulsi Gabbard. She's one of the leaders. She's the head of the Homeland Security in America. And she's a devotee. She's initiated devotee. She chants Hare Krishna. She doesn't hide her religious affiliation. But she's only one person. She's not the leader, but she has influence. She's a Kshatriya. She's a real Kshatriya. If you want to find Kshatriya in a woman, the ideal. The Tulsi Gabbard is the person. She served in the armed forces also. Okay, so
Thank you so much.
10 minutes left to our time here.
Devotees, if there's any last questions, please go ahead. 10 minutes left.
If not, we can just end.
Yeah. Maharaj, would you like to finish with some chanting?
Mhm.
Do you have time?
I actually don't have I just got an important call that I didn't take. I need to get back to that call.
That's okay.
And there's a few other things that are looming on the horizon here. So
That's okay. Guess we can end the class here, Maharaj. Thank you. Thank you for such a wonderful class. Thank you,
okay.
devotees, for joining. We'll see you.
Key.
Swagatam ki jai. Candramauli Swami Maharaj ki.
Yeah.
Ki Maharaj.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Guru.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Actually, I should mention one thing before I leave. I don't think I mentioned it to anybody, but I'm giving a class tomorrow, aside from the regular class that we do here, tomorrow at 4 o'clock UK time. Online, it's going to be on Ram Nomi. I'll send the link to Srimati, and she can distribute the link if anyone wants to come on. The group is coming from the United States, so we're going to be discussing Ram Leela tomorrow. That's 4 o'clock UK time.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you.
I think it's 4 o'clock UK time. I just heard that clocks are changed now, so I'm not sure.
I think it's changing on Sunday, Maharaj, so the day after tomorrow.
The clocks are changed on Sunday?
For UK, yeah.
Yeah. And anyway, it's 5 o'clock my time, which is European time.
Yes, Maharaj.
So that
Okay.
will be 8:30 in the night for us in India. Just giving a heads up to everyone here in India.
Okay, you can go to sleep hearing Ram Leela.
No.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Your classes waken us up, Guru Maharaj. We are already asleep. We are deep in slumber of ignorance. And these classes wake us up.
I hope so. I'm hoping.
Yes, Maharaj.
Jai. Srila Prabhupada. Jai.
Hare Krishna.
We'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Vivo.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.